we weren't really feeling satisfied with, renting and buying stuff and working 9 to 5. I was personally drawn to van life and, well, because of the minimalism, the minimalist aspect. And I saw, the van as a way to sort of achieve a minimalist goal without having to get a tiny house.
I met someone in Panama who was doing it, and I kind of just had this moment where I was like, that's something that you can do. Like, we could travel around the US, see a bunch of the country that we live in, and be able to do it cheaply, and that kind of really sparked it. I was like straight from high school to college to this very intense job, and I hadn't really like discovered what I liked doing outside of work. For me, the van was a way to take a break, explore nature, which is something I love so much, and be able to kind of figure out what the next steps for me would be.
We set out in October of 2018, and we've been living in our van full-time since then.
Hi, I'm Sam.
And I'm Lily.
And this is our van, codename Sharky.
Yes.
The whale shark. So we have a 2007 Mercedes-Benz Sprinter 3500. So this is the dual wheel with a diesel engine. It's a 2007, so it's pre-DEF, but it's been running great. We bought it used about a year and a half ago, and we turned it into our mobile tiny home, in which we've been living for about a year and a half. And we converted it ourselves on a budget. And we learned pretty much everything from scratch, and in the year and a half that we've been in it, there have been almost no major failures, so...
Nothing is broken, which is great.
Yeah.
So welcome to the inside of the van. So here we have our kitchen counter. We actually purchased this from IKEA and installed it ourselves. So this is one of the parts of the van that we did not make from scratch. But we did install the sink and the plumbing ourselves, and we just did some dishes because we just had some lunch. So that's kind of what we've got over here. So our plumbing system is super simple. We have a freshwater tank here that's 7 gallons, and we have 2 other tanks that they're the same size that we just exchange manually. And then we have our gray water tank that just funnels straight from the sink. And then we've got a foot pump that we use when we're doing dishes. So it's super simple. We just pump, and then we've got a faucet extender, because when we actually first put it in, the faucet itself was a little bit too close to the edge, so it kept on getting water all over the place. All right, and then we've got silverware, utensils, just general kitchen stuff. And then in here we have lots of plastic bins that are just filled with our kitchen stuff. So cooking ware. This is our Coleman stove. It's a 2-burner that we hook up to our propane tank to make food. And then this is a food bin that has our like day-to-day stuff, sandwich, cereal, etc. And then on this cabinet, this is a lot of like our stuff that we use every day. So the top drawer, this is where I keep my my craft stuff. I make embroidery art. And then we've got flashlights, and then this bungee cord we use when we're driving to kind of keep all of the cabinets in place. And then our beverage drawer, as we call it. We have a jet boil here that we use to make coffee and tea, all of our different teas and coffees. This is a drawer that we use a lot, like 2 to 3 times a day. So this is a very important drawer. It's always like fully stocked with a ton of different types of tea. And then down here, this is our bathroom drawer. So we put in just like one of those little organizers to give us some more space. So this is actually one of the shelves that I made for the van. And we keep most of our cups and coffee makings, stuff, spices is in here, rosemary, all that stuff. And then over here is kind of our vegetable and fruit box. And yeah, this kind of system, we didn't exactly know how to make a shelf and get it to fit onto the van and be stable. So we actually used these wires to kind of take some of the pressure off the back attachments for these shelves. I really do like the aluminum backsplash that we did. This was actually one of Sam's ideas, and I was a little bit against it at first, but It makes it really easy to clean. Obviously you can see that there's like a ton of splashing from doing dishes and all that stuff. So it's super easy to wipe down, which is really great. And one thing we do with the sink is take the cutting board and then place it here. And that way we have more counter space for chopping and doing prep work. Our refrigerator is in between the seats here. And that's just a Dometic fridge that runs off of our solar. And it's great. It's pretty small. So we usually have to grocery shop like every week to 10 days to get like fresh veggies and all that. But it's great to have a fridge.
So I'm going to talk about our electrical system. So we tried to sort of hit the sweet spot between minimalism and complexity and our needs and what was feasible. So up on the roof we have 400 watt panels, so that's 400 watts of solar. And then that all feeds down, and it's in 2 circuits of 2 panels. So they're 12 volt panels, we get 24 volts for the technical specs. And then 40 watt charge controller. And then it all fit under here. And then we got 2 golf cart batteries, so they're 6 volt batteries, but we put them together to make one 12 volt battery. And that's sort of the place where we splurged. We got those new and we kind of got the high end ones. We got full River brand. And those are 220 amp hours. So it's not a huge battery bank, but for our needs, it works great. And one of the secrets and sort of the one downsides is that almost all of the circuits are 12 volt. So this is our only inverter. I think it's about 300 watts. And we really only use that to charge our computers and occasionally like run I'll shave with it, but everything else is 12 volts. So we have 2 LED lights in the ceilings, and those are actually really bright. So you can see, here's one circuit here, we have 4 of these LED pot lights, and just because of the size of the van, they're almost too bright. So we ended up just getting these fairy lights, which right now you can't really see them, but with everything closed up, they're perfect. It's enough light to read by, and it's not blinding. I'll just kick that on for a second. We use that for cooking, and maybe if it gets hot and we're in the sun, we'll leave that on. But so on really cold nights, we just close that up. We put Reflectix over the front windshield. We'll just crack the front windows. And for instance, if it's 32 outside, if it's freezing, we can keep it about 50 in here. And then with the blankets, we're all good. And we might kick on our Mr. Buddy in the morning, but other than that, our heating costs are essentially 0.
Welcome to the bedroom. Totally different and separate part from the kitchen, of course. So here we have our bookshelf. We have a whole box of books actually under the bed that's kind of our storage level. And so when we finish a book, we switch it out and we have a lot of books kind of on display. This is one of my embroidery pieces. This is actually Mount Fuji, a topographical map from our trips when we went there. And most of the time what I do is I spend our free time when we're not hiking, making embroidery art, and that's kind of something fun for me. I just started trying to sell it, so we'll see what happens. So a lot of the time we spend, because we don't have something dedicated to sitting, is we'll take our pillows here and kind of make like a little couch. And that's where we do a lot of our reading or embroidering and crafts and stuff. This is another shelving unit that I made with the same technique of using the metal cord. And then this is all of our clothes storage. So Sam gets 2 and I get 3. And they're just like IKEA boxes that we flipped upside down so that the zipper keeps everything in place. We have a couple really cool things because the width of the van is actually larger than the width of a queen size bed. We have these little cabinets that reach down. So this is where I keep my socks, and then also we have like extra blankets for when it gets cold. And then this one goes to our dirty clothes hamper.
So this is our toilet. This is number 1 only. Previously we put like wood pellets in there, either for stoves or for animal bedding, and that would work for a while. It would definitely like keep the odor down, and then we dump it somewhere discreet, or deep in the forest or something. We kind of got out of that, and now it's just straight with no pellets. The benefit to that is that like you don't have to empty it quite as often, but then because it doesn't fill up as quickly, but then you do need to dump it because it doesn't smell quite as good. One big secret that we learned like within the last couple months is putting essential oils in there. So every time we dump it out, we'll wash it out with water and then throw in some essential oils, and we found that tea tree oil works really well. We've actually had people like compliment our van on how good it smells when this thing is like about half full.
So this is what we call the garage, basically just the back of the van. And we have bug screening on both the back door and the side door and the front windows. We ran into a lot of bugs when we were in the Midwest and the South. So these were like a lifesaver because when it was really hot and humid, we wanted to keep the doors and everything open. And these actually came with the van from the previous owner, so it was like super, super nice. We do a lot of backpacking and hiking. That's kind of our main thing that we do while on the road. So this is all of our camping gear, our sleeping bags, our backpacks, obviously our hiking boots. These are our backpacking backpacks. We have an extra water tank that we switch out with the one from the front. Yeah, it's really simple. Oh, this is the laundry hamper that connects with the top part. So on the back paneling of these doors, so we really liked the way that it looked with the solid panel of plywood. But as you can see along the edges, we've kind of used duct tape to keep it in place. When we first put it on, we used 3M VHB tape, which is super good double-sided tape, but it started to come off at the top because it's in the sun so often and it warms up. So something that we would do differently, and we're planning on doing once we're back in Oregon, is to split these panels into two so that there's less pressure between both the panels, and then actually properly screw those in. So a big part of what I do in the van when we're somewhere and just kind of taking a beat is I do embroidery art that's inspired by a lot of the places that we've been to. A lot of my work is kind of more abstract or topographical maps. So I sell these, not really officially yet, but I'm working on that. And you can find me on Instagram at lil_trillium. LIL_TRILLIUM. It is a private account, and it also is our account for our van adventures and stuff. So feel free to send me a request. I love doing commissions and just enjoy having my work out there with people who enjoy it.
Even though we're working less at our jobs, we've actually been probably more productive than if we aren't making as much money. We've been living off of our savings. Which means that we're time limited, but at least in terms of our passions and our interests and the things that we want to do outside of the 9 to 5, we've been really productive and really successful.
Yeah.
And that's been really fulfilling. And then I also write fiction, so that's my big thing right now. I'm on Twitter, so if you just look up Samuel M. Moss on Twitter, and if you like reading strange, innovative fiction. And then also, I'm an associate editor at 1111 Press, so that's 11:11. We publish innovative and avant-garde fiction, novel-length fiction, short stories, and poetry. And that's most of my stuff. We don't actually make money on the road.
No.
We were really fortunate to have pretty good paying jobs before this, and we were living really frugally when we were stable before this, and then we've been very frugal on the road. One of the ways that we've extended this is woofing, and I know a lot of people do that, but that's been great for us because we'll go to a house or a farm, and instead of having to be in their rooms or their kitchens, which, you never know what you're going to get, like we have our own space, which is great, and so we'll go there and our expenses are essentially zero. We're not moving, we're not buying gas. Most of those places will provide food and water, and then that's it.
It's a really good way to stretch your money. I also walk dogs when we go to larger cities through an app called WAG, and that's really great for nomads because you show up to a city, you put in your current location, and then you can just pick up work. We had to really kind of reevaluate the way that we communicated with each other, living in such a small space. Like, we've been together for almost 9 years, and we'd lived together for 5 years before moving into the van. So when you live in such a small space, I think we had to be like really intentional about like communicating and when we were making plans. I'm a planner and I automatically just like think about plans and where we want to go, and I have a plan in my head, and I had to learn how to include Sam in the plan and also like let him know that I had already planned out the next like 3 months of our lives. And yeah, that took a while for me to like to do.
Communication is super important,
Yeah.
and if you don't communicate well, if you're in a van as a couple and you don't communicate well beforehand, you either learn how to do it really quickly or you probably stop.
Or it
van
doesn't
life.
work. Doing the van, I was able to kind of realize I really love embroidery, I really love hiking, I really love learning about plants and animals around me, and like, you know, pickling and baking, even though we don't have an oven, but you know, working on farms, we've been able to kind of like discover some of that.
We've toured most of the US, and now we're sort of coming to a point where we're going to be still living in a van, but a little bit more stable for the foreseeable future.
Yeah.
Thanks so much for looking at our van, looking at Sharky, and we hope you enjoyed the tour.
Yeah. Thanks so
All right.
much.
Bye.
Bye.